Hello guys, how are you today? I hope that you are fine. My name is Kevin Julian, my partner is Mauricio Gomez, and the topic is Suggest Curriculum from Transition to 5th Grade. Start with the contents, an introduction, and a short definition about what is Suggest Curriculum, and we start with the topic Suggest Curriculum. In the definition, we have that a curriculum is a standard based on the sequence of paid experience where students can practice and achieve proficiency in content and applied learning skills. Curriculum is an central guide for all the educators. Here we can find goals, methods, materials, and assessments. Now we start with the topic. We start with the some topics, the basic learning rights, what divided in four parts. They recognize simple comments about environment, associate image with sounds about the home and the classroom, vocabulary about home and classroom. Three identifies, repeats, and use words related to the environment. And the last one is the use of the personal information. What is the name? What is how old are you? Some aspect about family. In the transition grade, it was divided in the scope and sequence. It was divided in four modules: module 1, 2, 3, and 4. Module 1 is about the body parts. The module 2 is about emotions. The module 3 is about the environment, and the module 4 is about the community. Then we have the suggest syllabus. In this part, they play and learn about the body. In the performance indicators, we have the noun, do, be, and learn. In the noun, we have aspects about recognize the body parts, recognize pronunciation related to the games, toys, and recreational activities, and identifies phrases to express the preference. What is the favorite game? What is the favorite toy? In the part of the do, we have the names part of the body, mention about imagines about the body parts. Then we have simple structures about the body part, and mention the favorite game or toy. In the part B, the values, the importance, care about the body will playing. Then we have the respects about the classmates, and then follow the established norms of conduct. In the learn part, we have 20 that they adapted in different groups, role in the in a group of game. And our learning strategies exemplify words or phrases with corporal movement to remember their meaning. For example, when I use my hands, my arms, my legs, in this part is better to students can uh, remember the meaning. In the suggest content, we have vocabulary about body parts, numbers, toys, colors, actions, games, some expressions, some grammatical expressions. For example, my name is, I am a boy. My favorite game is, and in the English practice, with these phrases, we have my name is Kevin, and then another student, another student, another student. In the psycholinguistic and intercultural aspect, we have the norms of conduct and responsibilities in the community. Then we found the methodological and assessment suggested. It was related to the decoration of the environment of the classroom. You can use posters, you can use sounds, you can use images, pictures, and decor the classroom with a beautiful place where kids can enjoy the, the environment of the classroom. The use of games, maybe a corner with games, maybe another corner with books, maybe a corner where they can practice an art part. And it suggests some games. For example, to start the class, the game of Simon Says, a hot potato, obstacle race, an activity that use of corporal and a social, emotional, and a cognitive environment, and obviously about the body part. Then I mentioned about the art part, how to develop the art. You can use make a mural, you can use music, you can use an interpretation about drama situation, make a handcraft with the vocabulary of the model, that in this case is body part. Then we have the part of the literature, and you have again use the corner with the books. You can tell a story, you can create a big book, and then we have the exploration of the environment. You can walk around the school. You can play, use the playground of the garden of the school. Um, Different activities of the environment that you can develop the topic, in this case, the color about body part. And then it suggests some like homeworks that you can use. You can create the parts of the body in the image, that the students can organize and remember easily the name of the body. And it's another activity that you can use. Then the mission is to follow up students' holistic education in this part as is a transition grade. You use a lot of the observation in all the module, the participation, the that the students can express what they learn, and that's it for this module. Then we have the module two. The module two is the same, that's the same structure that the module, the first module, but in this case we have a association with the emotions in the module two. The module two, the performance indicator. Remember that it's divided in four parts known that identify the students can identify the emotions and mood and recognize vocabulary about some situation. In the part two, they can express some simple phrases. It can follow some instructions, and the students can answer on a simple questions. In the part B, the students recognize that how the feelings of the mood can influence their behavior, and another aspect is the respect of other aspects. The part learner knows when it's appropriate to talk and when it's necessary to listen. In the learning strategy, use gestures to represent words, and because it's easy for students that you use your body language. In the suggest contest, we have vocabulary about obviously mood, emotions like happy, angry, excited. You can this part we have the part of color, some numbers, some expressions, some grammatical rules. The practice some simple question like how do you feel today? How are you today? How are you today? And this student say I'm happy, I'm angry, I feel bad. In the social linguistic and intercultural, we have they recognize the emotion of other person, and then we have the part of the methodological and assessment suggested. It's the same that the previous model. Again, with the decoration of the environment, the use of the poster image is the same, but it changed because the vocabulary changed. For example, in the part of games, you use games as emotion bingo, emotion dummy, cards. You can use the cards. In the part of art, you can create the cards that you use in the game. You can use an a moral or a music, a strategy, or maybe an activity of a mirror, face to face, students to students, and they say how they feel. In the part of the literature, we can talk about some histories. You can create books, you can create history, maybe with a corner, with a part of the vocabulary of emotions. Now, in the exploration of the environment, you can walk around the school to find some emotions, like on a poster. You hide on a poster, and the students can play another the detective and to discover the emotions. Then speak about some homeworks that you can develop in the model, some strategies like recognize the emotions, mold the face, classify emotions, and a good emotion or a negative emotions, create an album about emotions, design an emotional lottery, and many other strategies that you can use. And in the mechanism to follow up students' holistic education is the same in the transition grade. You can to observe a lot, and you have an anecdotal records observation of the notes that the students can have, um, maybe with the review of album or the posters, many other studies that you can use to in your follow up. In module 4, it was mentioned about the member of the community, how a student is a member of the community. The performance indicator in the part of now is identify vocabulary about family, recognize lexical elements about cultural experience or some community music, language, traditions, and the use of vocabulary roles or jobs in the community. In the part of do, describes the family, tradition, exchange basic and simple information about family and customs. It's able to understand simple short sentence, and they are able to answer the simple question. The part of B recognize their culture and the family members. It's related to the cultural knowledge. Speak about you about the values lesson from the, for example, parents from parents, and the use of the projects that the community have. And the part of learn, we have to understand the interconnection that the students have with the society, with the community of society. And you can use flashcards to remember the words that you studied in this part. This is just content. We have vocabulary about music, holidays, celebrations, birthday celebration. We have jobs. We have family members. We have nouns, some numbers, some expressions, some grammatical expression. In the part of English part, you can use for example, in our context, the use of vallenato. I like vallenato music. My family likes Christmas. I am 5 years old. Uh, in this part, we practice the English practice and the grammar part. The sociolinguistic and intercultural part, it's the relation with the family and the culture. Now we have the part of methodological and assessment subjects. It's the same. The correction about the environment of the classroom, the use of image, the use of corners, the books, with some toys that students can have from his or her house. In the part of games, we have it suggests a role playing, crossword, uh, guess who, some activities that you can do in this part. In the part of art, you can use music, you can make a mural, you can use the part of the corner to create a new, for example, in this case, it's related to the community, to the family members. In the part of literature, you can create a history. You can have a big books that tell a history. You can create some different strategies that the students can improve the vocabulary. That again, as I said before, the family members. The exploration of the environment, we found that they can use of the environment to share the family member, to share the tradition, the cultural tradition. You can use the room to create a small cultural interchange. You can use a lot of activities or games in this part. Then it suggests to some homeworks to for the students, maybe an order or sequence of events about the cultural events, the difference find a the motor skill activities, the names of family members, create an album with family members, create an album about cultural activities, and many others activities. And the part of follow up is the same. You use a lot of the observation. You use a lot of depend of the motivation of the student. It depends of what activity you develop, and the students can able to understand, able to develop the activity. Maybe the participation, and that's it. Now we have the part. We finish this part, and we continue with the first grade. Uh, Now we continue with the first grade. The basic learning right in the first grade is understand the instruction related to tasks of the schools, and then we have a simple statement and use of rehearsed expression and the use of order of sequence of main events and answer a simple question, and finally describe some physical characteristics of or use of phrases. Uh, Depending on the topic. In the scope of sequence, we have the same divided in one, two, three, and four. In the first one, we have the health and life. In the second one, we have peace and living together. In the module three, we have environment and society. And the last one, module, we have the global village. Um, the suggested syllabus in the module A is it suggests activities about body care and personal hygiene. And the suggested performance indicator is the same. Now, do, be, and learn. In now, it's about vocabulary about body parts, recommends expression in the daily routines, or maybe body care and personal hygiene, and identifies a sequence of the history, and identify some words related to personal information. In the part of do, we have that the students are able to answer a simple question, organize image, and represent a sequence of the routine, and make a list of activities about the take care of the body. The part of B recognize the responsibility about the daily routines. Um, Sorry, he mentioned about a part of hygiene and a body care. In a part of learn, we can show how learning as a process of lifetime. and establish relation between the knowledge and new things that they learn. Uh, Now we continue with the suggested contents. Now we have the vocabulary in this part. Words of sequence first, second, finally, last, uh, next, then. We have words about expression, about grammar, practice a lot, about the daily routines, maybe the members' family. In the social, cultural, linguistic, intercultural aspect, we have about personal hygiene and body care. Then we have in this part, we don't have like all the aspects, games and art, literature. No, it is more global in this part in the first grade. They suggest some activities, some homeworks that can be developed in all the module one, and suggest some assessment uh, introduce the topic very didactic, use of picture, use of imagine, use of poster, use of different activities that helps to students to understand better the topic. You can use oral activity, you can use music, you can use body language, you can use poster, watch videos. It's important that you use subtitles because the students can understand better and how and explain with your body language. Uh, you can use some music. The part of assignments, it's important that the process of self-evaluation, the use of discussions, the use of different stuff. You can use self-evaluation, you can use an rubric, maybe an check final draw, administer the vocabulary with a puzzle or a task, maybe some and small pieces. Then speak about the hours of evaluation and preparation of the classroom. Then we continue with the module two. In the module two, we have the word is on a physical difference and the ones from the her or his classmates and shows respect together then. The performance indicator we have in the part now identify phrases as I like, I don't like, recognize possessives like mine, your, his, her, and understand the meaning of the phrases. The part do with the use of the expressions as I like, I don't like, introduce a person, introduce vocabulary about her classmates, and a possessives, her classmate, his classmate, and response to stimulate the use of imperatives. The part B, we have express himself or herself to the others. Um, the, the use of the physical or gender difference. In the part of learning, recognize when it is appropriate to speak and when to listen. In the part of learning strategies, check frequently the new learning words. The vocabulary that you use, you are focusing in this vocabulary a lot. In the suggested content, we can have the vocabulary in the emotions, the body parts, and some physical descriptions as black, tall, short, pink, blonde. The vocabulary about respect, about expression, the use of grammar, in the part of the possessive, in the imperative part of too, and in the English practice, they are able to describe themselves. And in the social, linguistic, and intercultural, respect gender and physical differences. Um, Now, in the says, same as the module one, he suggests some activities. You can bring a big pictures. You can use a recycle the English vocabulary related to body part, an activity associated with the environment. In a part of the recycling will create an part of the body. You can use music, you can use videos, you can use whatever didactic activity but that helps the students to understand better the topic. Uh, then we have the part of the today's curriculum uh, content that suggests the environment of the classroom, how you can use picture, posters, how you can evaluate your students, what activities you can use, the use of videos, the use of music, the the use of poster a lot, the use of body language. Um, that's it. And then we have the model three. In this part, the goal is recognized visually and oral in English, and that's it. In the model four, we have the goal to express and promote in English collaboration in their family. In the performance indicator, the part of new, we have identified simple phrases or habits and recognize some actions that can optimize the conservation habits at home and mention them in English. The paragraph 2 describes some simple words or phrases of the house, makes a list of action that optimize the conservation at home. The paragraph B promotes sustainable conservation and resources uh, among the members of the family and appreciates the importance of conservation habits. In the part of learning, the use of information to make decisions according to the age. The learning strategies uh, remember the use of the vocabulary with all in all the moment in the class. Then we have a suggest contest. In this part, we found the vocabulary about parts of the house, TV, radio, shower, sofa, and whatever that you can use. And in the part, some you can use some verbs, some expressions, some grammatical structure. And in the English part, you can use this is an alarm. There are two bedrooms in my house. Tour of the TV, and finally, the sociolinguistic intercultural raising awareness about the sustainable consumption habits. Then we have the part of methodological and assessment, such as model in the module 4 is the same. The use of the environment, the use of image, posters, and different strategies that help to students recognize the vocabulary easily. You can use pictures, videos, music. You can use different strategies in group, individual, and you can organize an event where the students can promote sustainable construction habits of home. Uh, and that's it in this part of the first grade. Now we will continue with the second grade. Continue with the presentation, the second grade, the basic learning rights. In this part we have four, the use of simple ideas about the topic. The second is the use of a simple short history about family. The third is the personal information, and the last one is describes cultural aspects. Um, then we have the scope of the sequence. It was divided into parts two, in module one. The same that the first grade is the health and life. The second is the peace and living together. The third is the environment and society. And the last one is a global village. I'm sorry. In this part of such as syllabus, in the module 1, we have the goal as a goal identifies as expression a simple way of English, some of the benefits of exercise, and having a balanced diet. In the performance indicator, the part of now identifies some common food, vocabulary about food, recognize some words and expression about habits, and identify vocabulary and expression about possible reasons that may develop health problems. In the part of two, we classify and mention the health and unhealth food and drinks. Then we have the classify of activities, then the participation of the short conversation about the topic, and then make a list about food. In the part B, promotes the important actions regarding to the practice of a good habits and a good, for example, the eat of fruits, vegetables, drink water. And in the part of learn, listen respectfully the ideas exposed by others, and the learning strategies practice the pronunciation of the new words. In the part of the suggest content, we have the part of the vocabulary, about body parts, about food, sports, or activities, some numbers, and some expressions and grammatical expressions as in the simple present, in as expression as I have to eat, I have to drink, for the part of the English practice. In the part of the sociolinguistic and intercultural, worry about those around him or her in the medial context. Now we continue with the methodological and assessment suggests the use of questions, the use of picture, the use of poster, the use of flashcards. They introduce a didactic materials with the new vocabulary. There is a relation of word and image. The use of body language. It suggests a lot of in this part. Then they suggest some activities developed in this part. Watch videos, listen music, create a guide, introduce vocabulary in English, use of simple questions, maybe designing a poster, and use of image too, the use of the listening part, the oral part, maybe sing a song, and in the part of the self-evaluation, it's very important to the student because he mentioned what he learned. In this part, they start to write in English. He can do with the homework to develop with the family, And that's it for the module one. I continue with the module two. The goal is identify and mention in English the most important rights of boys and girls, and the families and schools. The part of the performance indicator, the part of identifies the word for question what, who, where, and identifies the vocabulary that related to rights of boys and girls. In the part of the two, they answer simple questions, make a simple list about the things that the students can do and cannot do, and the same kind of girls and boys, and gives some instructions, are able to introduce themselves or herself, and identifies the general idea of the history with image related to rights of boys and girls. The part of B, the respect of the classmates, the celebrates the knowledge, and in the part of learning, they change assume the responsibility. And in the part of the learning strategies, ask for the repetition when something is difficult to understand in English. The use of the repetition is very important in this part because the students are able to recognize the sound and repeat the sound. Okay. Now we have the suggest content in the part of the vocabulary. We found information about games and toys, about some expressions, some interactive activities as I go to cinema, I go to the beach, I go to the party, the vocabulary about classmate, teacher, study, adjectives as tall, short, long, room, some the part of the word questions, what, who, where, some part of the grammar, and I can, I couldn't. In the English part, we have the right to they have the protection, reciprocal love, and in the social, linguistic, and intercultural, respect the rights of others and recognize the quality of others. In the methodological and assessment, suggested is the same that before. Mention about the environment of the classroom, mention about the use of the poster, image, music, videos, posters, short videos, the use of where to be, the use of the rules. Then this document speaks about the preparation and a simple and a short oral presentation in English. That's very important that they start to speak a little with a simple and a basic vocabulary. And you can use a different activity. You can use didactic activity. You can create your class as the way that the students can develop easily. And the self-evaluation. It's very important that the students recognize what they learn and what vocabulary they know. Activities as oral, as listening activities, as the use of the body language is very important too, as in all the grades. And that's it. In the last part, the suggest syllabus module 4, the goal is describes the simple vocabulary in English, the some cultural differences, and the communities. And the performance indicator in the part of new identifies some words related to the cultural activities and celebrations and traditions too. Identifies words about the descriptions about some communities, the differences in the communities. In the part of the make a list of the tradition of different cultural groups, expression of what he or she likes to do with about the groups started, and describe pictures, thoughts, or simple words that they can use in the part of the vocabulary. In the part of B, we expect and appreciate the cultural expressions and promote the preservation of the tradition and the culture. And the part of learn, we expect cultural differences about its classmates and the difference of the culture. And look in the part of the learning strategies looks for words that are similar and a native language with the English language. In the suggest contents, in the part of vocabulary, we have the words that are close to culture, to celebration, to months of the years, and some festivals in Colombia, some adjectives as happy, excited, sad, some expressions, some grammar rules as present continuous tense, because you need to give like an example as do you fight kids in August? This type of question you can use to introduce yourself in August. What babies in our culture in August do. In the part of the English practice is to use of the videos, music, the repetition of words, the phrases, when it's your birthday, where are celebrating Christmas, the part of the social linguistic and intercultural become interested about the preservation of the tradition and the culture, and promote the tradition of the community and the preservation of the part of the methodological and assignment suggests is the same. The use of the correct use of the environment of the classroom, the corners, the desk, the pictures, the music, the use of technology a lot. Uh, Maybe because according to the school, obviously, because the school maybe some have TV, some have maybe have a computer and you can use it. You can work. Then there should be some activities like didactic activities as games, as use of toys, as the use of the preparation and a simple oral conversation, very short conversation. But they need to start to develop this part, the oral part, and watch videos that help to improve the listening part and work. The students works a lot of in groups. It's very important to um, then there's just obviously the self-evaluation to know what vocabulary they have, why they learn in this part of the model. Now we continue with my partner Mauricio, and he talk about the third grade.
Okay, for third grade, we have some basic abilities that are supposed to be developed through the whole course. Um, these abilities are more focused on the use of English to express the things that you can identify about some things. The topics are divided in the four models that are based in certain aspects to follow a good process of education to in order to form a good person, I think, because these aspects have to be with health, with our society, with globalization concepts very important to people in order to fit in the society. The model one in the health and life, how it is called, the model commonly, we have I take care of my health and my family. It is focused on identify the body parts and some issues, common sick that you can acquire, for example, dengue, a flu, a headache. Identify this kind of issues, how to prevent them, how to say the symptoms. It is the part related to the vocabulary. About English, they are supposed to learn the modal verb should and shouldn't, and identified some definite articles as a and n. And module 2, we have peace and living together. Uh, it is called in this case I complete with my duties. It is focused on the responsibilities that children have, for example, following the classroom rules, do the homework, and this kind of activities that they realize commonly that are their responsibility. Uh, that's the vocabulary they are supposed to use also another model verbs as must, and also reinforce the use of should. um, Model 3, Environment and Society, it says I take care of my city. It is focused on take care of our environment with the actions that we can do, for example, reuse, recycle, um, identify that some actions are bad as deforestation or throw plastics. The fourth model says a global village, I use technology appropriately. Um, it has to be with all these technological devices that are common for us nowadays, how they can use it. So the vocabulary is about verbs. I listen to music in my cell phone, I watch videos, my TV, and this kind of vocabulary related with that actions that we can do with our technological devices. Also, it is an inclusion of um, verbs of frequency in order to express those actions that I said before. Okay, about all the whole methodology, it is task-based learning. It is suggested to put the students through tasks um, about some stages. It depends. in the way in which you are going to divide the sequence to cover the full topic. So you can assign one task for this part, another task for this part, and another for the last one, and then you are going to have your methodology in order to explain the topic and teach children all the contents that the modules suggest. The assessment is formative and summative. It is formative because professor or teacher is always monitoring students' work and supervising the process that they are carrying on. But also it is summative because at the end the teacher is going to give a grade with a rubric, and the thing that teacher is going to grade is the task that students present to him, to her. So that is why it is formative and summative. The syllabus is task-based syllabus because the idea is that the content is presented to the students through tasks, in order to they interact with the topic directly. About the tasks, it is suggested drawings, design of original characters related with the topic, flashcards, flyers, posters, this kind of activities that are like more artistic, have a relationship with some artistic abilities that students have. So it is a little bit free for them. And it also says that at the end of each task, students should have like a self-assessment in which the whole group shares their opinions about the task, about how was that process, some difficulties or certain things that they like the most. And that's it. Okay, about the suggested curriculum for the 4th grade, we have some concepts and recommendations, because at the end it is a suggested curriculum. Basically, it is focused on develop English in children, but in an informative way. Why? It is because the suggested curriculum suggests you to develop an understanding about English related to characteristics, details about some topics, and exchange on opinions, and things like that in the 4 main abilities, that is listening, comprehension, oral production, writing production, and written comprehension. We have the 4 models in which the education here in Colombia are based: health and life, peace and living together, environment, society, a global village. They are divided in the 4 periods that the students are supposed to course. And it's important to say that again because they go through these 4 periods and they have 4 different modules in which they are going to work, and you as a professor have to take all the topics that this module suggests to you. So in module 1 for 4th grade, we have I watch what I eat. It is focused in identify the influence of some substances inside our body, substances that we eat usually, like sugar, all the bad things that fast food can have too. How can this affect us? What issues can we acquire because of this substance in our body? So that is what it is called I watch what I eat. Students are supposed to identify what kind of food is bad for them. About more specifically in English, they are going to give information about food habits, good and bad habits of alimentation, They are going to make simple sentences in order to explain why this food is bad for you. For example, using cause and consequence expressions. For example, sugar causes obesity. We have in model 2, peace and living together. This is more about I like to talk. In model 2, we have I like to talk. This model is mainly focused on the capacities that students can have to say their opinions, to inform about what they feel about some things, about their own characteristics too, about information related to other people, about preferences. Here it is when the use of the verb like starts to appear, adjectives and some verbs are taught to children in order to develop the capacities in them to communicate what they feel, what they know about themselves and about others. All this is about specific information. Then we pass to model 3. It is the model about environment and society. It says let's take care of our world. So this is more informative abilities development because students are going to learn how to describe characteristics of the environment, of the landscape, of the things that are around them. Also, they are going to learn how actions can affect the environment, so they are going to learn some model verbs in order to provide some recommendations to take care of our environment, of our world, as the model suggests. The English abilities, they are going to develop narrative skills in order to provide information about the environment and how to take care of it. In model 4, we have I live in a global village. It is more informative English acquisition because they are supposed to describe activities that they do every day. They are going to identify some characteristics and actions that other communities do too. Identified specific information, also identified that our actions have consequences to other people, that our actions can cause something. So it is relation with all the things that are in the previous model because you have description, the use of modal verbs, the use of expressions of cause consequence, and this is like a way of review, I think, all the concepts that are supposed to be developed in the previous models. The suggest syllabus is a task-based syllabus because it suggests a succession of tasks for students in order to acquire the topics and the English abilities that they are supposed to learn. And after that succession of tasks, they are supposed to work in a project. That is why the suggest methodology is project-based learning, because at the end students are going to make a product based on that succession of tasks that the teacher is going to give them through the course. At the end, they are going to present a project. Commonly, for all modules, the project is based on some poster with recommendations or some flyer or design some campaign in order to provide information about the model. For example, in the module 1, Health and Life, they are going to design a poster with some warnings about how harmful could be some substance that food includes for you. About the assessment, it is formative and summative. Mainly formative because the teacher is always monitoring students' work to the task. After each task, students are supposed to share as a group some information about the task, how they felt doing the task, what was their favorite part, they have any problem with some task or with some concept that they could not understand. So in base on that self-assessment, professor is going to provide feedback to the whole group in order to improve their performance. Also, it is summative because at the end the teacher is going to have a rubric, and with that rubric teacher is going to evaluate student tasks and students project and the students performance also. At 5th grade we have some basic abilities to develop too, as in the 4th grade. And 4th grade was like an informative way of using English. In this case it is like the use of English in relation to the daily life. So that is why we have some modules, as for example the first one, the this run is health and life, and in this case it is called I respect my body. It is mainly focused in good habits in your routine, so students are going to learn how to follow a good routine, how to have good habits, what kind of things are good for them. Also they're going to express their routine, because they are supposed to have provide some information if they were well teached, if they were well teached at 4th grade in that informative skills development, they will be able in 5th grade to describe their own routine. So it is like a way of show that the 4th grade was worked in good terms, I think. About the second model, we have that it is called I watch my language. It is the module about peace and living together. Mainly it is focused about recognizing some good and bad expressions that we find in our daily life, in our environment, in the classroom, in our house, in any kind of place, when we are playing with friends, when we talk with the teacher. We have the module 3. It is called We Are All the Same, and it is the model about environment and society. To continue with the development of these English abilities and these English communication skills inside our daily life or inside our real context. In this case, the module is supposed to be like guide for children to give and receive like a new information, how to ask, how to give, how to describe, how to give similarities and differences between some things, between communities, between new places, between cities, between countries, cultures. In module 4 we have that it is called We Are Well Informed. It is the module about a global village. This is mainly focused on develop the narrative abilities too, as the module 4 in 4th grade. They are very similar because they are focused on narrative skills, on express preferences, express the knowledge that they know about something, that children know about something, to describe how they get new information, which kind of informative tools they like the most, how different some media could be from others in order to inform. The methodology is also project-based because they are going to pass, all again, through a succession of tasks that are going to help them to understand the topic, to acquire new vocabulary, to acquire new information. The professor is going to be there as a guide, and as I said in module 4, monitoring students' work through the task. That is why it is formative and summative assessment as in 4th grade, because teacher is going to be there assessing students, designing group sessions of self-assessment, and after that he's going to grade students' knowledge based on a rubric. They have freedom to in the tasks because they're going to design, they're going to draw, and that's it. That's the suggested curriculum for 5th grade.